Well, hey, welcome everybody to Control Alt Achieve Live for December 19th, 2022. So excited to be with you here live, or for those that are watching the recording later, thank you so much for being a part of this. As usual, you can get to all of the resources that we're going to be looking at here tonight at bit.ly/CAA live. That'll get you to this Google document that I'm displaying on the screen here right now. And if you scroll on down to the second page of that document, that's where you'll find the links that we're going to be taking a look at here tonight. And of course, all the ones from previous weeks as well. You can go back and check out any of the ones that have been in the past and see those links, as well as the blog posts and videos that go along with them. I want to thank you guys again so much for being here. I see Peggy George already saying hi. So hi, Peggy. Thank you so much for joining. I always want to say thanks so much for being here. So while you guys are taking a moment to pull up the document, real quick intro. Howdy, everybody. My name is Eric Kurtz. I'm an EdTech coach in Northeast Ohio, and I run the website controlaltachieve.com. If you look right below the header for the document, you'll see a link to my blog, as well as links to connect, email, Twitter, YouTube, all that kind of stuff there. If you do want to get a little bit more involved, I do have some links here to join our email discussion group. We've got, I think, over 500 people in that group now. It's growing all the time and sharing wonderful things. One of the resources I'm sharing tonight is from one of the members of the group who shared to the group. So it's a great way to stay connected and share resources and ask questions of other amazing educators. You can also sign up for my weekly email newsletter. There's a link there for that as well, in addition to some other ways to connect with me. Speaking, though, of connecting in the future, you can continue to connect through other live streams I'll be doing. I went ahead and scheduled out the next few of these so that you can plan ahead for them. Do note, I'm not going to do one next week, with it being the winter holiday break. So nothing happening next week. So this will be officially the last one of 2022. But then January 2nd, we'll kick off with 2023. And again, typically most Monday nights. So the 2nd, the 9th, the 16th, I've got all those already scheduled and ready to go. And to help out, I did create a Google Calendar that has all of these on there. So if you want to make it real simple, you can click this one link here that says subscribe to the Control Alt Achieve Google Calendar. This will let you just subscribe to the whole calendar. And then anytime I put something on there, you'll have it. On the other hand, if you prefer just to set up the individual events, I do have a calendar link just for each event individually, as well as the streaming links for those. So I hope that makes things a little bit simpler for everybody to be able to plan for these things. I know life is busy, and if this helps a little bit, that's great. And kudos to Peggy George. It was Peggy's suggestion that I do this. I don't know why I hadn't thought of it before. Again, we're figuring this out as we go. We're building the airplane as we're flying it here. So thank you for everybody's suggestions. I hope that over time, this will become more streamlined and more valuable to you than it is right now. But I appreciate you guys helping me learn through this process. That's very valuable to me. A few other people saying hi in the chat. Thanks everybody who is saying hi in the chat. Astrid is saying hello from Peru. Oh, that's wonderful. Again, we are international today. And then Kristen saying hello as well. And hey, Andy, see, Andy, I just mentioned I was going to share a resource tonight from somebody in the Control Alt Achieve email group, and it's you, Andy. You're the one who shared the resource, and you are here. So I am so glad. And Kim, also, thanks for being here, Kim. Awesome. Thanks to all these people who are here tonight. I really appreciate you being a part of this. Well, speaking of you guys interacting, I would encourage you, please do leave feedback throughout this session. You can do that in a couple of ways. In the chat, that works fantastic. If you just want to drop something in the chat, I'll try my best to keep an eye on that. I moved the chat over to a closer monitor this week, so hopefully I will not miss it. If my microphone goes out or something happens, I will be able to keep an eye on that better. You can also leave comments in this document. I do have commenting turned on for the document. And I've also got a Google form. If all else fails and you want to submit something, I do have a Google form that you can drop comments in as well. All of those, though, I appreciate and welcome any of your comments and feedback as we work through this session. All right. Well, I think that's it. I think hopefully, again, that gave everybody time to get settled in. If you haven't pulled up the document yet, again, that is bit.ly/CAA-live. We use the same document every week, and that will get you where you need to be. All right, well, let's go ahead and get on into our links here tonight. Oh, hey, Jim is saying, I got to say hi to Jim before we get started. Hey, Jim, so nice to have you here. Greeting us from Australia. Fantastic. Really appreciate you being with us, Jim. Thank you so much. All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on down to the page where we're going to have our resources. And when I do this, I'm going to go ahead and turn off my my camera so we can just focus on these a little bit more. And I'll turn off that banner as well, so it's not covering things up. And from here on out, we'll just focus on the resources for tonight. All right, so as normal, I've got some resources from around the web and some resources that I have created, and I'll be sharing both of those with you here tonight. So what do we have from around the web? Well, the very first one is a website called Font Space. Let's go ahead and pop that up there. So Font Space does come from Andy, and Andy is with us here tonight. Andy is one of the members of our Control-Alt-Achieve email group, and you guys are welcome to join that as well. Like I said, if you haven't joined, please do. There's a link up in the first part of the document where you can sign up for that email discussion group. But Andy wrote to the group this week and said, hey, how about this site? And he shared this site called Font Space, where he was saying, one of the problems is, he wants to be able to find more fonts than what are already available. And yes, there's a lot of fonts available through Google and Google Slides and Docs. There's about 1,400 fonts. But even then, you might not find just what you're looking for. And so he stumbled across this website called Font Space, where you can search for fonts, you can browse through different categories. And then if you find something you like, you can put in your text, and then you can adjust the size and the color, and boop, it'll create that for you. And you can copy and paste it right into a slideshow or a document or whatever you want to use it with. And there's over 100,000 fonts here. So if you're wanting to come up with a really neat header for a newsletter, or a really neat header for a slide, or you're doing a video project and you want something in there that's a little bit more snazzy than just the normal fonts we've got access to, you can head out to Font Space. And again, like I said, when you get here, they've got some, already on the front page that are saying here's some recent popular ones, but you can go into the styles, for example, and you can look through the different styles they've got here. So with the holidays coming up, maybe you come and say, oh, let's take a look at Christmas fonts. And so, here's a bunch of Christmas fonts that we can choose from. Or maybe we go back to our styles and we say, oh, I'm looking for something a little bit more interesting, maybe something cartoonish, and so we go to cartoon, and now we're going to get some cartoon type fonts. You get the idea. So in addition to going through the styles, we can also go into collections where people just put together some of their favorites. And so if we start scrolling down through here, we can see different categories that people have put together as some of their favorites here. And again, maybe there's a theme to some of these, or else they just might be kind of lumped together. Like here's one called Fun Fonts. We could click on that, and yeah, there's pretty cool ones there. Jelly Fruit, that looks like a fun font. I like that one. And so the idea is that you find something that you like, and when you find something that you like, give a click on it. And at that point, you can type in your own text. So like if I wanted to do EdTech links or something like that, I could type in, the word EdTech, and I could make it larger. I could change the color if I wanted to, come in here, maybe just make it red. And then if I want to grab this, I can click on this button here that says save your image. And when you do that, you can download it if you want. That's totally fine. But you can also just copy it. Just boop, copy it. And now if I go over to like a Google slideshow, so let's say I just open up a slideshow, I could just paste that right in now. So if I come over to the slideshow and Control V paste, boop, there it is. Drop that right in there. And I could come back over and say, okay, let's grab the word links for, EdTech links. And now I can do the same thing. Come here, copy it, and come back over and paste it, and you got the idea. There we go. And so a lot you can choose from here. I mean, I picked a very straightforward one here, I imagine, compared to what's available there, but over 100,000 fonts there that you can choose from. Now, some of them are solid colors, like you're seeing here, but not all of them. There are a lot that are already pre-colored for you, and so you can come. Not seeing any right on. There's one. There's an example. So there are some that are already pre-colored. So if I go into like this one, oops, sorry about that. Got to click on the link here. That might help a little bit better. There we go. So like this one here is already styled. And so in a case like that, just keep an eye out. It'll be pretty obvious which ones are a solid color and which ones are already designed with a color and a design in there. But nevertheless, either way, you can always just come in, copy that. And of course, I could pop over here now and paste that in if I wanted to include that instead. All right, good stuff. So again, thanks, Andy. I really appreciate that. I appreciate you taking the time to share something that you came across. Appreciate that a whole lot. Jim saying that it's great to be able to just copy and paste it without having to download it. I agree. And actually, if copying and pasting is too much for you guys, if you're like, oh, I don't know. I don't know if I can copy and paste. Well, you can you can also drag and drop. So if you come here, you can just click and hold on to this and just drag and drop it right onto the slide as well. Boop, there you go. so drag and drop works just as well as copying and pasting there. So that works for you too. Good stuff. All right, seen a lot of good feedback on folks for that. Andy said that the earthquake font was used for his earth structure unit. Now that's another thing I didn't mention. You can just search. So if we typed in like earthquake, I imagine that would then bring up some earthquake fonts. There you go. And so now I'm getting some that have something to do with earthquake as well. So perfect. Love it, love it, love it. All right, let's keep on moving. We got so many good things to look at here tonight, and that is a great way to kick things off. All right, next up, let's take a look at Blob Beats. All right, so this is from Google Arts and Culture. Love, love, love Google Arts and Culture. So many wonderful things there. Well, in addition to all of the great content that they provide through scanning in pictures and historical documents and so forth, they also create a lot of interactive tools. And so this one is called Blob Beats. And the idea is you're basically going to be learning about classical music while playing kind of a version of Guitar Hero, if you ever played that game. And so we'll go ahead and click play game, bring that up, click on play here, and we can start by choosing the song that we want to play here. And so I'll go ahead and go with For Elise. And then what we'll do is we'll click on play. And by the way, you can also get a little bit of information about. They give you a little blurb each time you choose one of these, so you can learn about the composer as well. I'm going to go with easy here tonight because it's going to be difficult enough to do this while I am while I'm trying to talk and monitor things at the same time. So we're going to keep it easy. So what we do here is we use the S, D, F, and G keys to tap on while the notes are falling down when they get close to the blobs at the bottom. If you're familiar with Blob Opera, that's one of the other interactive tools that Google has released through Arts and Culture in the past, and this plays off of that. So let's go ahead and I'm just using my fingers on the keyboard to and I won't go through it. We'll stop it there. There you go. So basically, that's the idea: is as the notes are falling down, you're tapping on the S, D, F, and G key to try to sync it with the rhythm of those notes, and again, learning a little bit about some classical music at the same time. Peggy mentioning what fun, and I agree. Yeah, they make a lot of really, and this is just one out of so many wonderful experiments and activities and games that they have through Google Arts and Culture. So get that one on your radar. Next up, let's take a look at TinyWow with their AI text tools. Now, I've shared about TinyWow in the past. They're a website that I've mentioned in the past for their collection of tools. Well, they've added a new set of tools. So in the past, you may have heard me talk about TinyWow and their PDF tools. They've got loads of PDF tools for merging PDFs and editing PDFs and turning things into PDFs or from PDFs into something else. They've got image tools for converting images. They've got video tools for converting videos, as you can imagine. Well, they, at sometime recently, because I hadn't seen this before, they added some writing tools. And this is piggybacking on a lot of the stuff we've seen with artificial intelligence. So we had the whole Chat GPT chat last week where we talked about that. This sort of builds upon that same idea. So what you're going to do is come here to their AI Write page, and you can use it to help you write a paragraph or write an essay or improve your content or complete a paragraph or generate business names or lots of things like that. So for example, let's say we do the paragraph completer. We'll start with that first. So let's say that I've got a sentence to begin with here, and my sentence will be, there are many arguments for and against the consumption of artificial sweeteners. Maybe that's my topic sentence here. Now I can put in up to 500 characters here, so I could go a lot longer than that, but I'll just go ahead and click generate. And it's going to, very much like ChatGPT, is going to go out and use AI to take that content and think, how might it finish off this paragraph based on that? And so now it is going ahead and it's giving some additional content here to help round out that paragraph. Now, I may not like that. It may not be good enough, so I can always hit generate and try another shot at it. But it's going to give me some things like, in this case, I started with this as a premise, and it gave me two sentences, one in favor. Some people argue that artificial sweeteners are unhealthy because they increase the risk of obesity and health problems. Others argue that they are helpful because they can help with diabetes and controlling blood sugar levels. So there you go. You started with a sentence, and now it's giving you something to work off of from there. Let's try another one. Let's see, how about their essay writer? So let's say I want something a little bit more than just a paragraph completer. I could come in and say, let's do an essay about the challenges facing electric cars. Again, click the generate button. It's going to run out and do its thing. Now, I would say I'm more impressed by the level of stuff I was getting back from ChatGPT, but I think it's really neat to see how this ability to use AI is weaving its way into all of these different sites here. And so now we've got a full essay on the topics of electric cars. And so we've got, issues, we've got, cost being an issue, we've got the range of them. But despite these, there's also positives. And there we have a full essay that has been written up. And then I think the last one I'll show as a demonstration in this would be the content improver. And the idea is, what if you've written something up and you've got some errors, maybe some spelling errors, some grammatical errors, or you're not all that happy with the flow of how it went. And so here's my normal George Washington report that I use for every example that I ever use for this kind of stuff. And if I go ahead and hit generate, it's going to read through my report and hopefully kind of smooth it out a little bit, maybe rephrase some things, improve some of the grammar and the spelling issues and things like that I put in there. And so again, here's my original, and then over here we have a little bit of a cleaned up version of that as well. Now, I think just like last week, I think this brings a lot of the same questions that ChatGPT brought. Like, okay, well, could this be used for improper purposes? Could somebody use this to cheat, to write their essay for them? And yes, just like we said last week, that is true. Absolutely, these could be abused. And I think it's important that we think about this, and we think about, okay, well, how do we address that? How do we be aware? Let's not be naive. Okay, it's not enough to say, well, we blocked that Chat GPT site. Because guys, there's going to be 100 more of them. I mean, that's just one. There's, you turn around and there's another one that's already, popped up here. There's going to be so many of these. So it's not something that you can just, block a site. I think I'm more excited about when folks have been having those conversations on, okay, So how can we leverage this to improve education? How can this help students? How can this help us as teachers? And, it could be a matter of saying, well, okay, let's use this to get you started. You can, use this to get the main points for an essay, but then you need to write the full essay and give us all of the, the resources where you pulled that from, and you need to put your ideas into it. Or hey, take the essay it generates and you need to critique it. You need to go through and say, okay, this was an AI generated essay. Do you or do not agree with it? Point by point, explain why this is a valid point with some backup as to why it's valid. Or no, actually, I don't agree with what the AI said in this point here, and here's why. So some of those things I think are good things to be thinking about when we start talking about how are we going to respond to the growth of AI in education. All right. Awesome. Let's keep on going. And yes, Andy says, what an amazing resource. I'm with you there. That one really impressed me. All right, next up, our next link from around the web is one called SwiftRead. Now, this one was one of the ones that Google listed in their favorite extensions of 2022. So I think they listed about 10, and I put that into the agenda for our upcoming GEG Ohio meeting. So we'll probably go through all of those at some point there, or at least mention more of them. But I decided just to pick one out of the list because there were so many really good ones that they listed, and this was one of them. This one's called SwiftRead. So SwiftRead is an extension that's designed as, well, it's kind of designed as a speed reading extension, but like we've said with anything in education, if you come up with something, we'll find a way to use it in lots of other ways as well. So I'll give you the gist of what it's meant for, but then we can kind of think about how we could use this for our students as well. So basically what you do and this is a free extension. Now, there's a paid version, and that's usually the case, but the free version is robust. It does a really nice job. So I've already got SwiftRead installed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the old standby Dogo News. Always use Dogo News anytime I want to talk about something like this. So, hey, here we go. How about somebody caught a 67-pound goldfish? Wow, that's pretty impressive. So let's say I want to read this article about this goldfish here. That is a big goldfish. My gosh, that's amazing. So there's a lot of tools to help us read. But if we use SwiftRead, what it's going to do is try to help us read faster. But it's also going to help us focus while we're reading. So here's how it works. What you do is you either go to the web page and just go up and click on SwiftRead and tell it that you want to read this page, and it will grab the entire page for you. Or you can select just a selection of text as well, and then right click on it and say SwiftRead that. So it's up to you. Do you want to grab the whole page or just want to grab a part of the page? I'll just grab this part right here. Now, when you do that, what it's going to do is it popped open another window. So I got to move this window over here so you guys can see it. Sorry about that. It popped up in a different screen. So here's what happens. It pulls up the text. And then if I were to go to the bottom and hit the play button, it would start going through the text one word at a time at whatever speed we've got set up here. So again, they're trying to encourage you to read quicker. And so this one is set at 325 words per minute. So if I just hit the play button here, you'll see it's going to start going through one word at a time. And if you were focusing, which right now I'm not because I'm speaking, of course, but if I was focusing, I have found that I can very easily read along at that speed. Now, if you keep your mouse up here, it just shows the words. If you bring it down here, it shows you the context of it as well. So if you are trying to move through something quickly, this does help with that. Having said that, I started thinking, okay, well, that's great. That's fantastic. Maybe we want to improve, our reading speed, and we just want to work on that. Well, what about students maybe that are struggling with reading? Well, what I'd love to see is that you can really crank down the reading speed as well, the words per minute. If I come up here, I can start clicking this down. Now, at the moment, it's going down at 25 words each time. So the lowest I can get it there is 25 words a minute. But I noticed in the settings, I do have an option to make it go even lower. But I could take this down to a much lower word per minute. Now, if I'm playing it, it's going to be going through these, but at a much slower speed. And again, it's just focusing on one word at a time. So if the student is having a hard time, they're getting lost when they're reading, they're jumping up a line, down a line, they're losing their place, this is going to keep them on one word at a time, and they can just focus on where they need to be and not get lost in where they're reading. Now, that's at 25 words per minute. We can make it go slower, or we can make it fine-tuned a little bit more. To do that, you do need to go into the settings. And if you go into the settings, there's a bunch of pro settings, but there's a lot of things that are part of the free one. One of the things you can do in the free settings is if you come down here, you can adjust, let me find it, there it is, the words per minute interval. And right now it's 25 words every time you click up or down. Well, you can take that all the way down to 1 word per minute change that you can make. So if I do that, now I could go up to the words per minute and take it down to 20 words or 15 words or 10 words or whatever. I could make it as slow. I could really micromanage it to get it exactly to the level. And it does remember those settings. So the next time you open it up, it'll be back at those settings. If also you don't want the words, the context to disappear all the time, unless you're down here, that's another one of the settings. If you go into the settings, you can tell it to always show the context. And you can also change the font, for example, from Georgia to Arial. And so now, no matter where I'm at, I'm going to still see the context. I don't have to be at the bottom to be able to see the context. Now it's moving a lot slower. We're at, I don't know what, 15 words a minute at this point. But nevertheless, I thought, okay, well, this is one that we should play around with. We should try this out and see how, depending upon the reading speed of a student and their ability to focus on the text they're reading, how this might be a beneficial assistant to our students there. So anyway, wanted to get that on everybody's radar there. Good stuff. And yes, that is really a big fish. Thanks, Peggy, for saying yes. I agree. This is a great reading support. Oh, I did see a question. Sorry, Mindy, I missed this earlier. You asked if the AI sites are citing resources. So the short answer to that is going to be no. They're not citing resources. And if somebody knows differently, please let me know. But in general, the idea behind this is with these AI sites, whether it's TinyWow or ChatGPT or any of these, what they're doing is they're training the AI on millions of web pages. So they're just, digesting all the information they can get their hands on. And then when they create something from your prompt, they're not quoting from a web page. They're not taking a snippet from a web page. They're synthesizing the summary of all the information. So it's not coming from a site. It is a summarization of all the information that they've been able to consume. So it doesn't actually have a citation. In essence, it's original. Like if you took what they wrote and you ran it through a plagiarism checker like Turnitin or Google's originality report, it's not going to catch it as being plagiarized because it is an original creation of that text. So short answer is no. You're not going to see citations from the AI tools. But thanks for asking that. All right. We're to our last of the Around the Web tools. And again, if you guys have questions, comments on any of these, would love to hear from you what you think about FontSpace, Blob Beats, TinyWow's AI tools, SwiftRead, or any of these. So the final one is the OER Book. All right, so there is a book version. We'll pop that open. And there is also a website version, and we'll pop that open. So we'll get them both open here. So the OER book is a book that I've had the pleasure of watching it get developed over the last couple of months because it was developed by a friend of mine, Dan Neeson. So Dan basically does a job similar to me, just a little bit further north of me. Again, I'm south of Cleveland, but I work in the North Canton area, the Stark County area. Dan does the same sort of thing for NeoNet, another one of the educational service or the information technology centers, just a little bit north of me. And so he serves some different schools. Great guy, creates wonderful things, shares great stuff. And so Dan put together the OER book. And so if you're not familiar, I'm sure you probably are with the term OER, but if not, it stands for Open Educational Resources. And so what we're talking about are tools that are free, that you're allowed to use and reuse, and especially in an educational setting. And so what Dan wanted to do was sort of pull a lot of this together into one spot. And so he's got a book version of this, where if you go in, you'll see that, and it probably will grow over time. I believe this may even just be the beginning of it, but he's got resources organized by general repositories, themed repositories, and platforms. And there's Dan waving at you right there. And so as you get on into this and go through each of these, you'll see he has 1 page per resource. So this, if it's the general repositories, he's hitting things like InfoHio and PBS Learning Media and CK12 and all these wonderful resources, giving you a blurb about them and then how to get out to them. And then when he gets to the section on themed repositories, now we're picking up things that are more like PhET, which we saw a PhET example last week as well. Or we're looking at things like GeoGebra or Desmos. So these are going to be a little bit more subject specific or themed. And then lastly, he gets into a section here where he talks about platforms that support the use of OER. And so it's things like Nearpod, Formative, Quizlet, Quizzes, Applied Digital Skills from Google, and on down the line. Now, you can consume this as an ebook here, or I do have a link out to the website version of it as well. So either way, whatever works best for you. My guess is there's some stuff in here that very likely could become an EdTech link of the week at some point here. It's like, a lot of these I recognize, but there's some that I'm not as familiar with. So it's like, well, I'm going to be spending some time clicking on these and exploring these. I know I've shared some of these as EdTech links of the week before. I believe, I know I did a PhET one before. I know I shared that. And I know there was another one in here. I'm trying to remember which one it was. It's okay if I don't see it right now. But there was another one I know that I have shared at some point not too long ago as one of my EdTech links of the week here. But my guess is I'm going to be picking up a lot more in here to explore over time. So big thanks to Dan for taking the time to put that together. All right, good stuff. Well, we're going to now switch gears and move from the things I have come across on the web to things that I have been creating recently. And so most of you know we're in the tail end now of my 12 days of Chromus, and I've got 4 more entries since last week. I've been trying to do these 4 at a time. And so if you head out to the link at bit.ly/Chromus22, you'll get to the blog post that I've got there. I'll zoom in on that a little bit so we can see that a little bit better. There we go. And the idea has been to explore Google Chrome over 12 days so that each day we're taking a look at a tip or a trick or a lesser known feature, some helpful idea related to the Chrome web browser, hence the 12 days of Chromus. And so what I've been doing is adding those in one day at a time here. And of course, there are separate blog posts for each one of these as well. And you can always just use the fun link up here as well. If you want to click on that, that'll give you the picture. And then you can click on the balls, the ornaments each day as they go live. And then you can get to the resources that way as well. So let's see, what did we end up doing this time? So we'll go ahead and start with day 6. That was the furthest back one since the last time we have chatted. And for that one, we were talking about bookmark folders in Google Chrome. So prior to this, I had done an entry on creating bookmarks using emojis or using just the icon for the website. So we, talking about trying to save space on your bookmark bar, doing that. Well, this one said, okay, that's great. That's fantastic. If you want to, use, the website icon for your bookmarks, I do that all the time. I think that's a fantastic way to save space. But what if that's still not enough? What if you've still got so many bookmarks that you still don't have space to be able to fit them all on there? So I talked about using bookmark folders for this one. And so this one talks about creating folders and adding things to folders and then using those folders. So let me show you real quick what I mean by that. So I've got my bookmark bar turned off automatically unless I open up a new tab, so it doesn't take up space. But I'll just open up the tab so we can see it. So here you can see my bookmark bar on this particular account here, and you'll see that I do have some folders, and those folders are doing a lot of heavy lifting. I've got a folder called PD, and this has every one of the sessions that I do training on. And inside each of those folders are all of the resources for those sessions. So if I'm like, okay, I need to talk about creating tours in Google Earth, No worries. I go to PD, I go to Google Earth Tours, and there we go. There's the slideshow, there's the link to Google Earth, there's the resource document. Everything's there, all in one place, easy to get to. So that's fantastic. Other things that are really nice about it, though, is when they're in folders, it's super, super easy to open up all the resources. So when it's time for me to do that session, I just go to PD, I go to Google Earth, I right click on it, and I say open all 5. And blurf, it just opens all 5 of those all at once. There's the document, there's the slideshow, there's Google Earth firing up. It just gets everything opened all at once right away for you. And I love that, how easy it is to be able to just fire all that stuff and have access to that as soon as I need it. There's a couple other little tips and tricks I threw in there as well about how you can drag and drop items right into the bookmark folders, which is so nice and so quick and easy. And I also shared about searching in your bookmarks, that you can just type in the @ symbol. And if you type in the @ symbol, you can choose search bookmarks, and you can just type in any words you want, and you can find bookmarks that match that word. So if you've got so many bookmarks that you're still having a hard time finding them. So just a lot of bookmark tips and tricks on that one. The next day, we talked about reading the reading list in Google Chrome. We'll go ahead and open that one up. So the idea was, okay, so we've covered bookmarks, we've covered putting them in folders and all that wonderful organization. But what if you come across something you're like, well, this is cool, but I don't know if it's bookmark worthy. I don't know if I really want to add this as a bookmark yet, but I do want to get back to it. I just don't have time right now. Well, there's something called a reading list in Google Chrome, and you can add things to your reading list that you want to get back to later. So again, let's say I do go back to Dogo News and I say, I really want to read this article about this goldfish. I just don't have time right now, but I'm going to forget. And I'm not going to come back to it. And so I need to remember this. So one thing that you can do is use the reading list tool. So all you do is go to the top right-hand corner, and up here, there's a little icon to click and show your side panel. And inside of there is your reading list. You can now click add current tab, and boop, it adds this in to your reading list. And then you can just keep on going. And who knows, maybe you come across something else. You're like, okay, I really want to read this page here about reading lists. Okay, well, I can come over here, click on the reading list, and again, click add current tab, boop, now it drops it into there. And so basically the idea is now later on when I'm like, okay, I finally have a spare moment, like that ever happens. Let's say I finally have a spare moment. I need to catch up on some of my stuff I've been meaning to process. Well, all I have to do is say, okay, let's go ahead and open up our side panel and say, oh yeah, that article about the big goldfish. Let me click on that, and boom, it'll open it up. Oh yeah, that article about reading lists. Let me click on that. Boom, it'll open it up, and then you can read through those. And if you want, you can then hit the X to remove them if you don't need them anymore, or you can even hit the check mark if you just want to move it down into the pages you've read section, so hey, that's been read already. I do like using this though. It's a great way when I come across things that it's like, this is an extension I need to explore. This is a great link from Andy. Like when Andy sent that one about the fonts, that's what I did. I honestly did that. The font space link that went into my reading list because I'm like, hey, Andy shared this. This looks important. I throw it in my reading list, and then later on, when I've got some time, I go back through and I just work down through my reading list as I process things. So that's been really, really helpful. All right. Next up, I covered incognito mode in Chrome, which is a wonderful tool. I know a lot of times we think about incognito as well. You're trying to, browse and not have things tracked, but there's so much you can do with incognito besides just that. And so I've got a video, of course, that goes through all of that, but we talk about how to launch incognito mode, but more importantly, why would you use it? And we just cover a bunch of the common uses that I think are very useful, like just logging into a different account or a different computer. If you've got folks visiting during the holidays and somebody wants to use your computer, well, you don't want them, logging in and feeling like they've left their credentials, their username and password on your computer. So you can simply come up to the three dots button, come up to the three dots button, there it is, sorry, and then hit the new incognito window menu from the three dots button, and boom, there you go. You could head over to Gmail or wherever they need to go to now. And when they do that, they can now log in with their account. After they get signed in, they can do all they need to do, access their files, do what they need to do. And as soon as they close out of that incognito window, whoosh, it's gone. no worry about that being recorded on your computer. So that's great. Or if you're using somebody else's computer as well. Other things that are nice though, troubleshooting browser problems. If somebody says, Eric, something's going weird. I go to this website and I keep getting aw snap on the website and something's not working. One of the first things I say is, well, try opening up an incognito window, go back to the site and try it again. Because when you launch an incognito window, it's sort of a blank slate. It doesn't load up your extensions. It doesn't hold on to all of your, your cached, information. So it's like you're starting from scratch. So if the website works in incognito, but doesn't when you're not, now it's time to start exploring, okay, which extension is breaking things now? Or do I need to clear my cache to get things cleared up? Other things that are really useful with incognito would be testing sharing problems. So let's say you're making a Google site and you've embedded a slideshow and a document and all kinds of stuff in it. Well, you go to preview the site and it looks perfect to you, but well, you're the owner of it. You own the site, you own the document, you own the slideshow. Of course, you can see it. What you should do is open up the site in an incognito window and see what does it look like for other people, because maybe you've shared the site, but you forgot to share the embedded files. You wouldn't know that unless you viewed it incognito. Then you're like, oh, wow, the site's not working. I need to go back. I need to fix my sharing. And of course, lastly, yes, protecting your privacy. Let's say you are trying to find that perfect holiday gift for somebody and you want to be searching on your computer, but you don't want to leave any traces of what you've been searching for, because that's going to show up in, your recommendations and the ads and all that stuff that shows up. You could always do some searching in the incognito window until you find exactly what it is you're looking for. So good stuff. All right. And then the last one, and then we'll take some questions and some chat comments here. The last one is managing multiple accounts in Chrome. And so this is the most recent one I put up. And this one, I would imagine most people probably have more than one Google account. It's very common to not just have a Google account. You probably have a personal Gmail account, but if you work at a school, chances are you've got a Google account provided by your school. It could be your other organization. Maybe you are involved in running a club and you've got a Google account from that. There could be a lot of reasons why you have more than one Google account. And that can be something that's hard to manage, to juggle all those different accounts. And so I talk about 3 different ways to manage your multiple accounts. The first 2 are okay. The third one is actually my recommendation. So the first one actually is incognito, because if you just need to jump into an account for a few minutes and you don't really need to get into it every day, like maybe every couple of months you need to jump on this account and do something, you can just fire up an incognito window, log in temporarily, and be done. That's fine for those, every now and then I just need to check it. Option 2, this is more for like if you have an account that you need to get into all the time. And this is really not my recommendation. I prefer option 3, but I wanted to mention this because this is a valid option. Option 2 is where you add another account to your Chrome profile. So what you do is you click on your little icon of your face up in the top corner, and then you say you want to add another account. And after you sign in, you'll see you've got 2 accounts signed into the same profile. And that does work. You can do that. You can be signed into the same profile with 2 different accounts. It's not bad, but I think it can get a little confusing because you're not always sure, okay, wait, which account am I looking at right now? Which one's open? And also, if you click a link to open up a document, sometimes it might open up with the wrong account and yell at you and say, you don't have permission to view this. You're like, well, of course I do. Oh no, it opened it with the other account, But I think the biggest concern is the fact that if you do this, let's say this is your personal account and your work account, because they're in the same profile, they share the same bookmarks, passwords, history, extensions, and you probably don't want that. You probably don't want your work account and your personal account to share all the same, history, because there may be differences between what you're doing on your personal account versus your work account. And so what I recommend is the third option, which is actually adding another profile to Google Chrome. So to show you the difference here, the idea is if I open up a new tab, you'll see in the top right, there are 2 little icons of my face. The one on the bottom, that's where you can add another account to the same profile. That's the one I'm not recommending. The one above that, the little teeny icon of your face, if you click that, that allows you to open up your profile screen. And here's where you can add multiple profiles. Now, what's a profile? Basically, it's a second copy of Chrome. It's a complete separate additional copy of Chrome that has nothing to do with the other one. And so you can come here and you can say, I want to add another profile. And so basically you do that. You just go there and you click the add button and you sign in with the other account and you turn on sync so it syncs everything. And ta-da, you now have a totally new profile created. So that's what I do. If I come up here, I've got, all these demo ones. Here's my work account. Here's my personal account. I've got all these demo student accounts. I've got lots of accounts there. And the beauty is you can be running all of them at once and they don't interfere with each other. You just click, open up another account. So like at the moment, if I wanted to, I could grab a tab from my personal account. So this is the Chrome browser for my personal account. I'm logged in with my personal account here. And these are all my personal bookmarks there. And then I could say, okay, let's, open up my work account. I could come here and I could grab my work account. And now it's probably opening up in a different window. That's the problem. I got too many screens here. Oh, I probably lost which screen it was on. That's okay. Let me try that again. Oh, nope. It's on another screen somewhere here. Yep, I got too many. I got too many screens open here. I'm not going to find it. Oh, I think I just found it. There it is. It just popped up. And so I've got 4 monitors. And so and there we go. And so this is my work account. And so, but the beauty is that's how separate they are. They're so separate. I can't find it when it opens on another screen. But it's its own bookmarks. Everything is unique about it. Nothing is the same as this profile. I keep everything nice and separate. All right, guys. So let's take a look at some of your. I'm curious what you think about some of these, whether it's bookmark folders, reading lists, Incognito, managing multiple accounts. I saw a little bit of action over there in the chat, so I'm going to take a moment and take a quick look over there and see. Andy says he needs a full day to organize his links from over the years. I'm with you, buddy. I understand that. Absolutely. Kristen says she uses Incognito all the time when sending links to parents to make sure they work. Kristen, that is such a great idea. Before you hit send and you send that off, open it Incognito, make sure that what's it going to look like for them, because maybe it opens up perfectly for you because you've got permission, but they won't. I love that. Cami wonders, are you diligent about deleting from your reading list once you've checked it out? Yes, I do try to do that, Cami, and sometimes not as quickly as I need to, but if it gets longer than what shows up on the page, I realize it's time to purge. And so, yes, usually when it hits the bottom of the screen, that's my way of knowing time to start, taking care of some of these and making sure I get rid of those. Jim says this is probably the most important Chrome feature for me. Jim has 3 accounts open right now. And Jim, I agree with you. And I think, I don't know if it's different for, if it's this way for everybody, but I know Jim and I both do a lot of training, a lot of, work in the, EdTech world as far as training. It's really common for me to have multiple profiles open at once. Like I'll have a teacher profile and then a student profile, because I'm showing what it looks like as a teacher, what it looks like as a student. Then I've got the profile for my actual trainer account where I'm typing up all of the directions or whatever. And so I can have multiple, profiles at any one time, not just that I have them, but they're open. Like it's very common for me to have 3 or 4 of these profiles all running at one time because I'm jumping back and forth between them. Now, heads up, I did mention one thing in here, and I know I didn't say it right now, but I'll just bring it up real quick. That whole thing, the only negative about this is that doesn't work on a Chromebook quite yet the way we want it to. So when it comes to multiple profiles, I did mention this in the blog post that, hey, as a Chromebook user, be aware, this is a feature that is still in development. So if you're on a Chromebook, you can do the other things. You can do Incognito, and you can click here and you can add another account to the profile. You don't have this button on a Chromebook. You don't have the profiles button. That's because a Chromebook treats it as the Chrome browser, is you when you log into the Chromebook. And so, but basically what you have to do is you have to switch accounts. You have to go down to the bottom and you have to switch between users there. It's not as seamless. It's not like you've got the profiles running side by side. You can just, easily copy and paste from one to the other. The good news is this is coming. It's something called Lacrosse, which is Linux and Chrome operating system. I probably butchered it, but it stands for Linux and Chrome OS as an operating system. And basically what they're doing with Chromebooks is they're splitting the browser from the operating system. So when you boot up a Chromebook, you'll have a version of Chrome OS that's running the Chromebook, and you'll have a separate version of the Chrome browser. They're going to get disconnected. The two of them will be different. As soon as that happens, then you're going to get this button, because now the browser will exist separate from the operating system, and then you'll be able to set up multiple profiles. You can do it right now, but you got to do it experimentally. You got to turn on all these flags in your settings. I've done it. I tried it. It works, but it's still kind of cooking. It's not quite fully baked yet. So I'm really excited for when that comes. That'll be really good stuff. All right. Good stuff. See if there's anything else here. Peggy saying, great tip about Incognito. Absolutely. Andy saying you can name your profiles also. Absolutely. Yes. If they're too much, if they look too much the same here, you can go in to edit the profile and you can put in a more descriptive name there. So it's not as confusing. If you got a bunch of them, it's hard to tell apart between them. All right, guys. Well, hey, that is all of the links for this week. So I'm going to start wrapping things up. If you do have anything else to share, please throw that in the chat before we wrap up here. I would love to take any more questions or comments from you guys. But as we do start to wrap up, just a couple of quick things for you. First of all, remember, no show, no live stream next week, with it being the holidays. Going to take that week off, but starting in January, the 2nd, the 9th, the 16th, all of these are already scheduled. Here's the streaming links and the calendar links if you want to add them to your calendar. But again, you can just add the entire calendar to your Google account and follow along there as well. Other than that, you can always get back to all of these resources at bit.ly/CAA-live. And if you have suggestions, if there's things that you would like me to take a look at, please do what Andy did. Please share those. You can email me here, but you can also join the email group here and share that with everybody as well. Taking a quick look back, seeing some thanks. David saying, thanks for the information. I appreciate that, David. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate that. And Peggy as well, thank you so much. I always appreciate you being here. That is such an encouragement. Well, guys, I'm going to go ahead and pull myself back up here to see ya and say have a wonderful holiday season, whatever this is for you over this month. I hope it is a wonderful time. I hope you get time with family or friends or just by yourself, if that's what a vacation means to you. Whatever the case, I appreciate you taking time to spend the last hour with me. It really means a lot, and I appreciate you guys doing that. So until next time, take care, everybody. Have a wonderful holiday season.